See, for the last 200 years, all innovation has been done in the West for the more affluent Western consumers. The Western markets have gone into a recession or into a slowdown, so the demand has come down. Simultaneously, the markets in India, China and other countries have been growing at 8, 9, 10%. So these are the new emerging markets. There are 3 or 4 characteristics that are required to service the needs of the consumers in India, China and emerging markets. The first and most critical is affordability. The second is that these markets are resource scarce. So you need approaches which maximize outputs with minimum resources, which is what we call the Jugaad approach in India. The third is the ecosystem of usage is often very different. For example, you don't have electricity in many villages. Even where you have electricity, you have power outages for 10, 12 hours. Even where you have power, there is wide voltage fluctuation. So therefore, the usage environment is different. So if you have to now cater to the growing needs of the emerging market consumers, then you have to understand all this. So we have tried to capture our experience and approach to innovation for emerging markets, and that is the 3I model. The first I is inquiry. So every process must start with inquiry. What is the size of the market? What is the profile of the consumers? How do they use these products? In which we suggest to companies that they should form a cross-functional team, and then we take them through a classroom session where all these questions relating to the inquiry are addressed by experts who are invited to these sessions. From there we go on to the second stage, which is immersion. And the immersion process starts with a walk in the village. It is basically to sensitize and familiarize the cross-functional team to the ecosystem and the environment of the village. This is then followed by certain very powerful research methodologies that we have developed over the last decade and a half. One of them is participatory rural appraisal, where you involve the community, and the community themselves address their own problems and they try and seek their own solutions. We only act as observers. So the teams from these companies come along with us and they observe. And that gives ideas to the R&D teams as to how the solution should be carried forward. And the third I is implementation. See, any innovation is as good as its implementation. So you have to go through a whole step-by-step process. And that is this implementation stage. So this is a very systematic step-by-step approach which is most relevant and grounded in the emerging market scenario. When we talk of innovation, we say innovation has to happen at 3 levels. The first is the product. Now 95% of companies are focused around only product innovation. Right? But what we say is that the second stage, which is the process innovation, is equally important, because there is a lot of value which is lying locked in the process. So whether it is a communication process or the delivery process. For example, in India, to market to cities, you need to have a very simple delivery process. But when you have to take it to 600,000 villages, then you require a much more complex and detailed delivery process. And very often the success of your product will lie in the success of your delivery system. And the third is what I call the people innovation, which is innovating the organization to become responsive to the needs of the whole innovation environment. So you need a business mind but a social heart approach, which means that you must feel compassion for the poor. Only then you will be able to come out with the best solutions. Then I will be able to generate profits on a sustainable basis, because I have brought in all these 3 innovations of product, process, and people.